This is a video about calculation on contract value, initial margin, and maintenance margin of futures contract. First, calculation on contract value of futures contract. So what is a contract value? Contract value is the actual current value of the contract at a given specified futures price. So in Bursa Malaysia, we have four types of futures contract. The first one is FCPO, FKLI, FMG, and FKB3. So if you look at this table, the formula for contract value per contract for FCPO is equal to current futures price times size of FCPO. So size of FCPO is 25 tons per contract. For FKLI, the formula for contract value per contract is current futures price times size of FKLI. So size of FKLI is 50 ringgit per contract. For FMG, current futures price times 100 times minimum price fluctuation. So minimum price fluctuation for FMG is equal to 10 ringgit. And FKB3, current futures price times 100 times value of 1 basis point. So value of 1 basis point for FKB3 is 25 ringgit per contract. This is example for calculation contract value for FCPO. So the question is calculate daily contract value of FCPO for the following market report from 1st April 2020 to 3rd April 2020. So we have market price of FCPO from 1st April until 3rd April. 1st April, the price at 2450. 2nd April, price at 2560. 3rd April, price at 2640. So to calculate the contract value, we must use formula contract value for FCPO, which is the current futures price times size of FCPO. So size of FCPO is 25 metric ton per contract. So 2450 times 25, you get 61,250 ringgit. For 2nd of April, 2560 times 25, so you get contract value of 64,000. And for 3rd April, the market price at 2640 times 25 ton, you get 66,000 ringgit per contract. Now we look at example for contract value FKLI. So let's say we have price from 1st April until 3rd of April for FKLI. 1st April price at 1,852. 2nd April price at 1,890. 3rd April price at 1910. So you plug in into formula for contract value for FKLI. So you get for 1st April, you times the price with 50, you get 92,600. 2nd April, 1,890 times 50, you get 94,500. And 3rd April, you get price 1,910 times 50 ringgit. So you get 95,500 ringgit. This is example to calculate contract value for FMG. So let's say we have price from 1st to 3rd April. So the formula for FMG, current futures price times 100 times minimum price fluctuation. So minimum price fluctuation for FMG is 10 ringgit. So market price 1st April 113 times 100 times 10 ringgit. So the contract value for 1st April is 113,000. For 2nd April 120, the price is 120 times 100 times minimum price fluctuation 10 ringgit. So the price is 120,000 ringgit. And 3rd April price at 126 times 100 times minimum price fluctuation 10 ringgit. So the contract value for 3rd April is 126,000 ringgit. So let's look at contract value for FKB3. So let's say you have price from 1st April to 3rd April. The formula is current futures price times 100 times value of 1 basis point. So value of 1 basis point for FKB3 is 25 ringgit. So the 1st April, the price of futures at 97.5 times 100 times 25 ringgit. So the contract value is 243,750. For 2nd April, the market price at 96.5 times 100 times 25. So you get contract value 241,250 ringgit. and the 3rd April price at 94. So 94 times 100 times 25. So the contract value at the 3rd April is 235,000 ringgit Malaysia. So now we look at it, calculation on initial margin. What is initial margin? Initial margin is the amount deposited when a trader open position in futures market. Formula to calculate the value of initial margin per contract is percentage of initial margin times value of one futures contract. For example, if you want to calculate initial margin for FCPO, let's say the question said calculate total initial margin per contract if the current market price of FCPO is at RM 2,356 and the initial margin is at 15% from contract value. So to calculate the initial margin per contract, step number 1, you need to calculate value of one's FCPO contract. So contract value of FCPO per contract is equal to current futures price times size of FCPO. So size of FCPO is 25. So current futures price is 2356 times 25. So you get 58,900. And second step, you can calculate initial margin of FCPO contract. Initial margin of FCPO per contract is equal to percentage of initial margin times value of one FCPO contract. So 15% times 58,900. So initial margin per contract is RM 8,835 ringgit. Now we look at example to calculate initial margin for FKLI. So let's say question asks you to calculate initial margin per contract if the current market price of FKLI is at 1850 and initial margin is at 15% from contract value. So step number 1, you need to calculate value of one FKLI contract. So contract value of FKLI per contract is equal to current futures price times size of FKLI. So size of FKLI is 50 ringgit per contract times current futures price 1850. So contract value of FKLI per contract is 92,500 ringgit. So second step, you need to calculate initial margin of FKLI per contract. So initial margin of FKLI per contract is equal to percentage of initial margin times value of one FKLI contract. So percentage of initial margin 15% times value of one FKLI contract 92,500. So initial margin of FKLI per contract is 13,875 ringgit. Now we look at example to calculate initial margin for FMG. So the question is calculate total initial margin per contract if the current market price of FMG is at 115 and initial margin is at 15,000 per contract. So step number 1, you calculate value of one FMG contract. So contract value of FMG per contract is equal to current futures price times 100 times minimum price fluctuation. So 15,115 times 100 times 10 ringgit. So you get 115,000 ringgit. That is contract value for FMG per contract. And step number 2, you calculate initial margin of FCPO per contract. Initial margin of FMG per contract is equal to percentage of initial margin times value of one FMG contract. So 15,000 times 100, 15,000 ringgit. So the initial margin per contract is 17,250. Now we look at example to calculate initial margin for FKB3. Let's say question asks you to calculate total initial margin per contract if the current market price of FKB3 is at 94.5 and initial margin is at 15,000 from contract value. So step number 1, you calculate value of one FKB3 contract. So contract value of FKB3 per contract is equal to current futures price times 100 times value of 1 basis point. So 94.5 times 100 times 25 ringgit. So you get 236,250 ringgit. Then step number 2, you calculate initial margin of FKB3 per contract. Initial margin of FKB3 per contract is percentage of initial margin times value of one FKB3 contract. So 15,000 times 236,250. So you get 35,437 ringgit and 50 cents. Next, we look at a calculation of maintenance margin. So what is maintenance margin? Maintenance margin refers to the minimum amount of margin account to be maintained by futures trader throughout the life of his futures contract. The calculation of maintenance margin per contract for futures is dependent on information on the futures contract. There are two methods to calculate maintenance margin per contract for futures contract. The first method, maintenance margin, is a percentage from contract value. The second method, maintenance margin, is a percentage from initial margin. This is example maintenance margin method 1 for FCPO. Calculate total maintenance margin per contract if the current market price of FCPO is at 2,356 ringgit and maintenance margin is at 10% from contract value. So if you look at the example, it's mentioned maintenance margin is percentage from contract value. So step number 1, you need to calculate contract value of one FCPO contract. So contract value for one FCPO contract, from the formula you get 58,900. Then second step, percentage of maintenance margin, 10% time value of one FCPO contract, 58,900. So maintenance margin of FCPO per contract is 5,890. So you can refer to this slide to look at example to calculate maintenance margin for FKLI by using method 1. So if you look at this example, first you need to calculate value of one FKLI contract. So after you get the value of one FKLI contract, you take percentage of maintenance margin times value of one FKLI contract. So you get 9,250 ringgit. This is for maintenance margin method 1 for FMG. So first step, you need to calculate value of one FMG contract. So you get 115,000 ringgit. Then you take percentage of maintenance margin times value of one FMG contract. So maintenance margin of FMG per contract is 11,500. So this is example maintenance margin method 1 for FKB3. So calculate total maintenance margin per contract if the current market price of FKB3 is 94,094.5 and maintenance margin is at 10% from contract value. So when the question said maintenance margin is percentage from contract value, then you need to get the contract value of FKB3 first. So you get 236,250 from the formula for contract value FKB3. Then you take percentage of maintenance margin 10% times 236,250. So the maintenance margin per contract is 23,625 ringgit. Now we look at example maintenance margin method 2 for FCPO. Let's say a question said calculate total maintenance margin of per contract if the initial margin of FCPO per contract is 5,248 ringgit and maintenance margin is at 86% from initial margin. So if the percentage of initial margin is given as a percentage from initial margin, so to calculate maintenance margin, you take percentage of maintenance margin times initial margin of FCPO per contract. So in this case, 86% times 5,248 ringgit. So you get 4,513.25 ringgit. This is example maintenance margin method 2 for FKLI. So calculate total maintenance margin if the initial margin is 15,000 and maintenance margin is at 86% from initial margin. So you take 86% times 15,000, so you get 12,900. So this is example maintenance margin method 2 for FMG. Calculate total maintenance margin if the initial margin of FMG per contract is 20,000 and maintenance margin is at 86% from the initial margin. So 86% times 20,000, which is the initial margin per contract, you get 17,200. So this is example maintenance margin method 2 for FKB3. Calculate total maintenance margin per contract if the initial margin of FKB3 per contract is 30,000 and the maintenance margin is at 86% from the initial margin. So to calculate maintenance margin of FKB3 per contract, percentage of maintenance margin times initial margin of FKB3 per contract. So 86% times 30,000, so you get 25,800 ringgit. So that's all about calculation on contract value, initial margin and maintenance margin. Thank you.